Well, hello, my beautiful souls. How are you? Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining. I'm hoping that you're liking the videos that I'm doing. I'm still working on the Pluto series where I'm doing each house, and I channeled and I wanted to know how to get out of those houses. What are the wounds going on? But we've got so much in the sky that I'm my direction is being pulled in different areas because we have such shifts going on. And I don't want us to, um, for me, the way I'm bringing astrology to you is to like, as things are going on, I want to bring that planet or those areas or to kind of give you uh, more understanding of the planets. Because if you don't know me, I'm a medium and they are characters for me. So this is a way to introduce them and their character. And so as it's happening, that's kind of how I want to bring it to you is as it's happening. And Pluto is a long transit. It's a 20-year transit. So we have time. Um, and because we have these other things going on, uh, I keep channeling and asking questions and to the things that are going on now. So I'm being pulled in this direction. So, and I have to go where I'm inspired. That's if you know anything about the Pluto series, if y'all been watching, and a lot of you have, and thank you for commenting and liking and sharing and all of that. I really appreciate it because I want this to get out to people. And the algorithm doesn't like me right now. It's not that it doesn't like me, it just doesn't know me anymore because I went away from YouTube and now I'm back. So I want those people that are searching to kind of get this information too, because we don't need to suffer anymore. I mean, we need to stop with the suffering. So, um, where was I going with that? I'm sorry, turn the channel. So I want to, that's the difference that I did before. Um, that I, because my 11th house was transiting, Pluto was transiting my 11th house for the last 16 years, right? And so this is about groups and about doing it in the way that I want and the way that I see and not being bound by YouTube and their rules and any other social media, their rules and all that kind of stuff. Um, and so it's important for me at my stage to do what I'm inspired. And it's not like I'm not inspired to finish the Pluto series. It's like all of a sudden I'm inspired in doing the Pluto series and then I get inspired over here because we've got Chiron going on and we've got the new moon and we got a full moon and we got, so I kind of want to, again, I'm doing this in a very different way than I've done it before. So as I'm inspired, I'm going to not be hard on myself and I'm just going to as the inspiration goes, I'm going to come and show it to you, right? So we'll continue on with the Pluto series. But for today and for the rest of what's going on in February, because we have such um, activations in the skies and what's going on, and this is like deep core stuff. So I don't want us to miss it. And this is my way of introducing you to the planets and the houses and the way that they work in your life. Because for so long I have seen and people have come to me and clients and friends and family and all that has said, I want to know astrology. It's so complicated, right? And it's, if you can get the core basics, and this is my way of kind of giving that to you, then you can sort of start seeing it on your own and start putting A, B, and C together, right? Does that make sense? So, welcome everyone. Again, my name is Cindi. I'm at Simply Cindi if you haven't seen me. I'm a medium. I've always been a medium. Was born a medium. I do a whole bunch of other things. Um, I have a whole bunch of different modalities. Uh, but I'd gone away from YouTube. You know, we all had the pandemic and all that kind of stuff and blah blah blah. You can look at the other videos to see what went on. But I'm back. So I appreciate each one of you that views this. I appreciate each one of you that has hung in there with me for the last, I don't know, since 2000. When did I get on YouTube? 2012, 2014, something like that. I've been doing this work a long time, but I got on YouTube around that time. And I only got on YouTube because people that were clients and friends and family kept saying, you need to do a YouTube channel. And I was like, I don't know anything about YouTube. Anyway, that's a whole other story. So let's get back to what's going on today. So I just want to say that I really appreciate you guys. I really appreciate all the sharing and the comments, and let me know what's going on. I appreciate when you give me and share your story, because other people are watching and may be too shy to share a story, but you share yours and they may be going through the exact same thing, and they may think, oh, I'm not alone, you know? And we're not alone. There's a lot of other people having to go through the same things in a different way, but the same feelings, the same interruptions, the same things as you know? And that's not to take anything away from you. It's just to say you're not alone. You're not alone. So there's my introduction. Sorry. Um, Gemini sun, so I talk. So today is February 22nd. On February 19th, the sun went into Pisces. So happy birthday, Pisces. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate you because you are, I think I talked about it in the last video. I have an interception and you're my interception. Like you're in my first house with Aquarius. So you know who wins a lot of that. Um, So anyway, I love Pisces. I appreciate Pisces. I appreciate that you don't have any bounds and that you could go many places so easily. And that most of you are mature enough to know that you don't want to Saturn everything in, which means you don't want to form everything. You just want to be at those places. So happy birthday. So we had um, Pisces move in. I mean, the sun move into Pisces, right? And there we have for today. Yeah, for today on the 22nd, we've had this since the 19th, but today it's probably getting a little stronger, more settled in. And what I'm talking about is this North Node in Chiron. And I talked about it in the other videos. And I'd mentioned that it's a wound like Pluto, but it's different. And so I really wanted to understand like what's the difference? How can I form this into words to like not only help myself understand more, but and go deeper, but help you guys understand more and how to work with this and how to work through this, right? And so today on the 22nd, we have what's called a conjunction. And a conjunction just means that they're close together, they're right on top of each other, and they're having a conversation. To me, they're all characters. They have personalities. These are areas of your life, and they're talking to each other. They're having conversations. I mean, I'm a Gemini. What else do you think? Happy, right? And a sandy moon. So of course I want to take what's up there and bring it down here, right? So anyway, so on today we have this conjunction. So the North Node is your destiny. The North Node in transit is like our big destiny, our as a group, our destiny. In this time, our destiny, right? But what I mentioned before was we haven't had this going on, all these planets right here, all of this going on in in our lifetime. It's been over 200 years. So 240, I think, 40 something. But so this is new. This is a new space. This is a new area. These things haven't done. These planets have not interacted with you in this lifetime in this way. You can look at it that way, right? So we're going into a new space, a new awareness, and this is. I wonder if I should get that deep because this is what I was trying to explain like years ago when I was like, to me, it's not a high or low. There's not a hierarchy. um it's when I've channeled and I've gone to other spaces and I have my higher self beings help me. I was trying to understand because it's not a hierarchy, it's not a higher lower, it's a the more we become aware is what involvement is. So to me it's like it's more involvement and less involvement, right? It's not a higher or lower. So that's kind of how I say it, but that's because that's how I see it. But this is to help you understand. Now we're evolving, we're becoming more aware. And I explain this by we're becoming more aware of our psyche. We're becoming more aware of our past lives, our future lives, our different things. I mean, we're just becoming more aware, right? So we're evolving. So we're evolving to this point, this North Node. And this is an area, and this is a space that we've never been in before, right? So to get the most benefit out of your involvement, and it's like the less pain and the less anguish and the less suffering and the less to do all that, because we're becoming aware, let's try to understand it and let's get through it a little bit smoother. Let's do it together, right? Like, remember how I said, if you watch my other ones, I said as an Aquarius we're going to learn our anonymity and working with groups. So being able to be solo and independent, but also working with groups and doing it with groups. This is kind of how I think as an Aquarius ascending. It's like we can do it alone and together. We don't have to do it just alone and we don't have to do it just together. There's going to be a way to do it where both are involved. Does that make sense? Where you can keep your anonymity, you can keep your stuff, but you can work with the group as well. That's what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm trying to help with, right? But I'm doing it in a way where I'm trying to understand it deeper too, and then just bring you the information. Okay. Now, there are wonderful astrologers, there are wonderful tarot readers. I know that I've said before I was mad, years ago, and that's why I left, and everything was getting, but I still think that there are wonderful tarot readers, there are wonderful astrologers, there are wonderful hypnotherapists, there are wonderful people on YouTube, and you can find them. And I encourage you to look at their stuff. It's always good to get a different perspective, and that's kind of what I am. I'm a very different perspective than most, and I know that. I'm not any better and I'm not any worse. I'm just different, and you'll resonate with me if you get it. And most of us, if you know what I said before, we kind of incarnate together. We kind of, as groups, we kind of know each other even though we don't know each other here, right? So getting back to this is in the new space that we're going to, because I said all of this that's going on with Pluto, we're going to land here. And this is like the doorway. This is like the portal. The north node is the portal, right? And what the way that you work your north node is you take your experiences, your wisdom, your mastery from your south node, and you keep it in balance and use that for your node. Use that to help you move through the doorway, to help you move through the portal, to help you move through this new energy, right? Well, today, and starting on the 19th, we have Chiron conjuncting the North Node. So this is about your destiny. This is about all of our destiny, and it's Chiron. And Chiron, like I said, is a different wound than Pluto, right? And I was trying to go deeper and see, okay, what's the difference in these two wounds? Okay. And so what I'm gathering and what I've read and what I've seen is that, and it makes sense to me. So, and I'm channeling too. So, I mean, I use all of that, right? Chiron is the like the altruistic wound. It's like it's a I wouldn't say it's a softer wound, but it's like some of you that are I was thinking um some of you that are on the spectrum, right? May see it this way too. Like you have it's more rounded, it's more subtle, but it doesn't mean it doesn't cause less pain than the other wound, than the Pluto wound. It's just more subtle and it's more romanticized, romantic in a way, if that makes sense. I'm trying to describe this wound. Um the this wound is like almost knowing it's more external too. It's like knowing this wound or having this wound. It's not about the Pluto wound is more sharp and more um like terror comes with it, fear comes with it. This wound is more about, it's not so much about the self-discovery, it's more about the healing of the wound that makes you have this urge to want to help others, right? And that's the difference. I mean, there's a lot of difference, but like this wound is more outwardly, and it makes you have more empathy. It makes you have compassion, right, with this wound. And the explanation, I heard one explanation, but I have another one of my own. Like to me, it's almost like someone that would have a an eating disorder, and that was the wound, was the eating disorder, and then they came through the eating disorder and were able to heal from the eating disorder, right? And then so they become a mentor for others that have the eating disorder. The other way that I was looking at it is like, I don't know if a lot of y'all know, I've said this before. um, I have lupus, I have SLE. I mean, I say that, but every time they look now, you can't see it. Like it's not active, um, because I've healed it, right? But whatever, we won't discuss that part. Just know that I had lupus on paper. I had it for many years, probably since I was growing up. But now that I've healed myself through it, I don't have that. And with the healing, um, I could use that to help others with the same wound. Does that make sense? Like it's like that. I'm trying to be as authentic as possible. So some of y'all may have never heard that I have lupus, but I do have lupus. I mean, you know what I mean? Like on paper, I have lupus, but in the last couple of years, they can't see it at all. So I'm pretty sure I healed from it. Um, but it took me a long time. So anyway, that's sort of that type of wound. It's like it's but it's not like me wanting to be a mentor for this. It's like if for me, it's like if they come to me, if anybody comes to me, I yes, I'd be willing to help you, and I have all sorts of modalities to help you with this, and I've done it myself, right? So um with this wound, it's with the Chiron wound, it's a little, it's like it's there's sadness to it. There's Yeah, there's sadness to it, but with that sadness and with the healing comes the wisdom. The wisdom. Like I have the wisdom to do this, and I don't want anybody else suffering with this. If I know the answer, I that's the difference between the Chiron wound and the Pluto wound. The Chiron wound, you'll immediately have this urge to want to help others with the same wound. Where the Pluto wound, it's not like you can't want to help others with that same wound once you heal it, but that's not the immediate reaction. The Pluto wound, and I'll explain it in a minute, the Chiron wound will give you this sense of urgency, this compassion to want to help others that have the same wound. I guess another one would be like a psychologist that has been through a whole bunch of things, and so they are now a psychologist or a psychiatrist, because that's the way that they healed themselves, something like that. Somebody with an eating disorder that becomes a mentor, or somebody with alcoholism that's been through it and healed from it and now is um, part of the organization to make you do that, to help you through that, to help you heal that as well. Okay, that's the Chiron wound. It brings compassion and this urgency to want to help. Where the Pluto wound, and I'm sorry, I wrote this down, the Chiron wound is not so much about um, the Pluto wound. I mean, the Chiron wound is not so much about how do I say this? The purpose of the Chiron wound is to bring humility. It's to bring compassion. It's to bring empathy and sympathy, right? Um, and that's the point of this wound. It's about the healing and then the loving and then the sharing. That's the Chiron wound. Okay. And this is really important because this is what's going on now in Aries for you guys, for all of us, wherever Aries falls in your chart, this sign, Aries, these two are there right now, Chiron and the North Node. Okay. So it's that type of wound. It's sort of more romanticized. It's more outwardly. It's about where the Pluto wound is about self-discovery and this is more the how do I explain this? This is more this is not so much about the self-discovery. This is more about the actual healing, and then the loving, and then the sharing it with others that have this wound, right? So it's less about the self-discovery and more about helping others is what it is, where the Pluto wound is more about the self-discovery. But it doesn't mean that you can't use the Pluto wound once you heal it to help others through it. You may want to do that, but that's not the urge you get when you're working through this or when you have this, right? That's the difference. The Chiron wound you'll have this sense of, you'll have this urge to want to help, to want to do that, right? So, um, yeah, so the Pluto wound is more about your psyche. It's more about the subtle, the subconscious. It's more about, and both of them are about your past lives and present lives and future lives. Like they both are. It's just a difference in the feeling of, like I said, the self discovery is more about the Pluto, where the healing and the sharing is more about the Chiron, is more the Chiron wound. Does that make sense? The Pluto wound to me feels sharp. It feels like darting. It's terror. It's horror. It's anxiety. It's being overwhelmed. It's feeling desperate. It's also feeling a sense of dread. Like that's the Pluto wound. That's the Pluto wound, right? And this wound doesn't immediately make you think of others. This wound doesn't immediately have you have empathy for others or sympathy. You're not thinking about others with this wound. But the other wound, it gives you humility, and you begin to want to think of others, like your immediate urge to want to help. Once you figure it out, once you get through this, right? Where the Pluto wound is not that. The Pluto wound is more internal. It's more about the psyche. It's more about you. It's more about the self discovery. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. But I just wanted to know the difference. Like I wanted to be able to articulate and give you guys, so that we know what we're working with. So that when I say this is your Pluto, and then I say this is your Chiron, we kind of know where to go with that. Does that make sense? So, um, let's see. The last thing, if you look at, and I may do this in another video, but if you look at like the difference of you can tell. This is where the astrology comes in. You can tell. I've had the honor, because I have this gift. I'm not the only one with this gift, but because I have this gift to be able to channel, to be able to like embody and go to these places. I sometimes go into these planets, if that makes sense, embody these planets and kind of see how and where they're located. Does that make sense? So, but let me try to articulate that to you. Pluto, it's located beyond Neptune, right? And so if we look at the order of things, it's located beyond Neptune. So it's almost like it's almost like Pluto needs Neptune, or actually we need the spirituality, the the spirit, the energy of us, a developed, balanced energy of us to be able to reach Pluto, the maturity, right? The not the maturity, the developed, the balance of having a balanced Neptune will enable us to reach Pluto. Does that make sense to you guys? I hope I'm explaining this right. I'm trying to take what I know and articulate it. So please be gentle with me. Um, it's almost like they need one another. Like you got to get through Neptune to be able, and it's where they're at. Like it's where they're at in the universe, where they're at in this, this galaxy is where they're at, right? So it's almost like to be able to get to Pluto's power, to be able to get to understand his power, you need a developed Neptune. You need to understand a little bit more about the spirit, right? You need to embody more of the spirit to be able to get through Neptune to Pluto, if that makes any sense, right? Where if you look at Chiron, Chiron is between Saturn and Uranus. And I think I'm going to do a video where I like really explain Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto in a different way, almost like when we embody them and what they're about and where they're located. Let me know if you'd like something like that. That may be a little bit too heady for some people and they may not be interested. So let me know if that's something that you'd like. But it's sort of a different take. It kind of shows you in a different way just how that helps understand, or just how that helps us in the understanding of where they're at, why they're that way, what is it that they're doing. Does that make sense? I hope I'm explaining this correctly. So, with Chiron being between Saturn and Uranus, um, it's almost like a doorway from Saturn to Uranus, right? So that wound, uh, um, it's almost like going from the physical, that's the Chiron wound, the external wound, the physical, Saturn, and then moving as the doorway through to Uranus. I don't know if that makes any sense. Let me see if I can say it a different way. It's almost like Chiron requires Saturn's maturity and responsibility, and the Uranian sense of understanding that life is more than just our bodies. Does that make sense? That sometimes life is about things that go beyond the limiting self. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So that's just a different way to look at it. But I'm really trying to help you understand this Chiron wound and the fact that it's in Aries is going to sort of give you a clue as to where we're going. And I've talked about this in other videos where, Mars is going and Venus is going and the sun's going and Mercury's going, right? It's all gonna land here. But with it talking to Chiron, with it communicating right now to Chiron, I'd said it almost is like this is the area where Aries is at in your chart. It's almost gonna feel like you want to do something, this wound, you want to do something, but you don't want to upset, or you're afraid that if you do this thing, or if you feel this way, or if you take this action, because this is about you, it's a me house, right? It's an Aries. And so it's almost like I want to do this thing, or I have this way, or I really want to do this, or I really want to be that, or I really want to try that. It's almost like that, but there's a wound there. You have a wound there because if it's like if I do this, then I may have to leave this, or I may have to undo that, or I may have to stop talking to this person, or I may have to like move a job, or I may have to move a home, or I may have to, it's whatever this is, it could cause in your eyes, from your perspective, this way that if you do it, it's going to upset people. And so you don't want to do it. You have this urge to do it, but it's going to take some bravery and some courage because you know that the actions, right? The actions, Aries, um, the Mars, warlike courage, the courage, the action is going to ruffle feathers. It could upset some people. Um, it could cause a change and disruption, right? And so that's maybe what you're feeling at this time, but there is a wound there. And this is like a societal wound too. It's like we want to go in this direction. We want to do these things. We see our life this way. We have this picture. We have this vision. And we know we could probably get there, or we think we could probably get there. We don't know exactly where we're going, but we think we could probably get there. But that's not even the point because it's Aries. Aries is just like, I want to do this now, right? So it's like as a society we see that we could do this, but we have to undo this, or we have to move this, or we have to leave that, or we have to have the courage to like leave that, or if it's more personal, you have to have the courage to leave that job to be able to move across the country to be able to get that other job. But you can't get that other job until you leave that job. You don't have the safety of knowing you have that job. But that's like the best career move you could ever have. But it takes courage. Like that is what could be going on. That is, but remember, these are all talking too, and they've been having the conversation with Pluto. And Pluto is going to bring up your fears. And he is kind of talking to them, right? With Mars and with um, Venus. And remember, that's why I really wanted to get into the Venus Mars. It's like the way through to this, the way to help with this is to have these imbalance, is to have that synastry going on, right? And so that's what could be going on. And that's just part of what's going on. Like that's what you could be feeling. That's what we could all be feeling in where Aries is, right? Like for me, Aries is in my second house. And y'all know my second house is a big issue with me. Part of it is that it makes me mad to think that people think that there are not enough resources and so we don't have enough food or we don't have the housing or we don't, that makes me angry. But there's the other side too, where are there enough resources? Can we do this? It's like that, right? So a lot of you may be feeling this, and that from now until the end of February, I just kind of that's a long way to say all of this, but I just kind of want to let you know you're in the right spots, you're doing the right things, especially if you're watching this stuff. If you're watching me, because I'm really connected right now. I'm really connected right now. Um, for a lot of reasons. I'm really connected right now. My whole heart is in this right now. I really, really want to help myself and humanity. I really, really do. That's the Aquarius ascending. So for today and for the last couple of days and for the next week or so, 2 weeks, you could be feeling this and there could be some action that you're needing to take, but that's not even the full story. Like the full story is we're about to have, I'm not even going to give you the full story because that would take like 3 hours of me just talking. You'll probably get tired of me. It won't hurt my feelings. um, but on the 24th, we have this full moon, right? So we have this full moon. We've got this thing going on here. We've got Pluto having these conversations, and we have this full moon, right? But look over here where so this is the moon in Virgo, and then this is the sun opposite of the moon, right? But we have Saturn there. This is all in Pisces. So Pisces, you're really going to be feeling this, right? Where Aries is going to probably be feeling this part in their 12th house. They don't really see it, but they'll dream it. They'll feel it in that subconscious way, right? Where Aquarius will feel it in their second house, Aquarius ascending, if they don't have interceptions like me. You'll probably feel it in your second house. Like you'll be feeling this Saturn, this Sun, this Mercury. And remember what I talked about in the other video? It's a stellium. There's actually 4 planets in this sign in Pisces. So all the energy was over here for a little bit, and it's going to continue to go back and forth because he's already had these conversations, Pluto has. But now we're moving into Pisces area. And so this is being highlighted, right? Even though it's a Virgo full moon, what do we do with the full moon? It's the illumination. But like I said, you'll have to remember the other day when I said if we've got Aquarius energy, we want to kind of do Leo energy. Well, we've got all this energy. We need to look over here. We need to see the beauty of what's happening, the illumination, the magic of what's happening, of what could happen, right? It's the sun, it's the Mercury, it's the Saturn. And Saturn is about bringing form, responsibility, maturity into this area of your life. So with Virgo, what are you trying to let go of over here? Or I would say reform, because Virgo, this is your full moon. So we're going to do it in your way, which means I know Virgos and they go 2 ways. They either hyper fixate on the organization, the helping people, the seeing it correctly, all of that, like overdoing it, overdoing it, overdoing it, or they do the opposite and they completely ignore it. Like they will so have everybody organized, and then you walk into their space and it's disheveled. It's like they haven't even looked at it. They could have dishes. They could have dishes on the counter. Their bed's not made. I mean, this is just kind of a way to kind of picture it, but that's the way Virgos do it. They hyperfixate or they completely ignore it. So, Virgos, what I want to say to you and everybody that has look where your Virgo area is. Is it something that's disheveled that you haven't paid attention to? Um, that you've completely ignored. It's not like you don't know it's there. You know it's there. You just completely ignored it. Or have you been working on it, hyper fixated, and you're trying to form something, right? Trying to do the magic, trying to see the magic, trying to let go of the old things. Um, or is this the time to do that with this Virgo full moon? Is it time to form something? Because for Virgos, that's going to be in your seventh house. So it's relationships. Are you not seeing relationships correctly? Like you see it, but you don't want to deal with it. So you're ignoring it, right? Like, yeah, I know we need to change this, but I don't want to change this. And I've been trying to kind of change it, but the ideas aren't coming to me and I don't know how to do it. So I'm just going to ignore it, right? That could be what's going on in this full moon. Like it's time to let go, time to be responsible, take responsibility, have some maturity. Because if you haven't been able to see the way with the full moon, you could possibly see the way. And with Mercury, it could finally get through to you. Does that make sense? And that message is for everybody. Just depends on where Virgo is in your house. And then look to the opposite of that. And that would be like, if Virgo is in the second house, then Pisces would be in the eighth. If your Virgo's in the third house, then Pisces would be in the ninth. If your Virgo is in the fourth house, then Pisces would be in the 10th. If your Virgo is in the fifth house, then Pisces would be in the 11th. If your Virgo is in the sixth house, then Pisces would be in the 12th. Does all that make sense? Okay, so that is the other part of what's going on, because remember, all this conversation that we're having, it's coming to where we're going into this new space. You can't go to the new space if you haven't evolved, become aware, worked on letting go, reorganizing, Virgo, letting go, Virgo, um, forming new, Saturn, Pisces, seeing and processing the sun and Mercury, and really, really having the synastry and listening to both sides of you, the goddess and the god, the male and the female, of what you want and how you take action. Does all that make sense? But again, you're still dealing with this wound. Like I may have to do this, but society has this, we as a society have a wound about this. So it's going to be really hard for me to do what I want to do. But I'm telling you, that's why all of these are here to help. They're here to help you. They're here to help process. They're here to help shed light. They're here to help form, mature, be responsible. They're here to help you find it within yourself to have the courage to take the action that of what you see in the creativity, to bring your money, to bring your resources, to bring your things. Does all that make sense? And again, they're still talking to these planets here too. Like they're talking to Jupiter and Uranus. So I haven't even talked about that part. Like it all kind of comes together as to what we're feeling, right? And so that's happening on the 24th. And you'll feel it a couple of days before and you'll feel it for a couple of weeks after, right? This is the full moon. You're letting go of something. It's time to really, really get in there, Mars and Venus, and look at how do I love myself? What have I not loved yet? What did I not see to be able to love? Whether I couldn't, whether thought I shouldn't, or whether I just wouldn't. So what actions do I need to take? Because I'm going to this space, right? What do I need to mature in? What do I need to let go? What do I need to reform? What do I need to do? Does all that make sense to you guys? And then this is going to be happening for a minute. We have the stellium. This tells us, remember I told you, the stellium is like a clue to say, hey, look over here. We're going to shine bright over here. We're going to make this active over here. We really need to get this. This is the time that you wanted to get this done. So we really need you to pay attention over here. Okay. You have the par fortune. So we all have the par fortune right there. If you form this, if you put some order to this, Virgo, Saturn, you will reap the reward, especially with the par fortune there, right? And you'll see it and you'll be able to process it. These are all here to help you in that area. I hope that makes sense. I hope I'm not going too fast. I didn't want the video to be that long, but again, I could talk about this for hours and hours. Okay. So remember, we still have this conjunction going on. They're still talking. They're still like, heal this part, look at this part, work with this, have the courage, do all that, right? Does that make sense? And then from the 24th, it's just going to get closer. These two are going to get closer and closer to Saturn, and they're going to get closer and closer to Neptune, right? And so we're going to have the stellium going on. The 29th is when the Sun, the Saturn, and Mercury are like really close together. So that's coming up on the 29th. Let me look at this. See, they're really, really close together. But that's why with the full moon, we're getting a chance. We get the next 2 weeks to really look at this, to really process this, to really feel this and reform this and structure this in a different way through the courage that we're having to look at ourselves and take the action and honor the parts of us that have not been loved, honor the parts of us that have not been looked at, because Pluto's watching us. I'm telling you, don't mess with Pluto. I've had Pluto. I don't know how many times I have to say this, but I keep my eye on him, and because I know he's keeping his eye on me, right? So it's like I see you, and I'm trying to do what I'm supposed to do so that it doesn't land so hard over here, because there is beauty in this new space. There is such creativity, and it can go either way, right? There, like, are you going to take the underlying unevolved space, or are you going to take the evolved space that we kind of all see ourselves going to, and then working out this wound? This is a societal wound. This is and think about it, in society, when have we gotten to do what we really want to do? Because in society we've been taught, you want to do this is what you want. You want to work 40 hours a week and get paid less money and because you gotta get a house. I mean, these are wounds, and if we can make it through this, we can help others, right? This is a beautiful new space that we're going to. They have the potential to walk through that portal and have this beautiful new space to start in, because once we go through, we got other things to do just to get to this part. I'm just talking about from now to get to this part. Then we've got other phases we got to work on, right? And it's not like you always have to work and work and everything's wrong and wrong. And that's kind of why I want to do that other video, because there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with this earth. We've just been sold that and told that. And so we believe that. And so we think we always got to work. It's not working. It's really just uncovering and discovering you and society and people around you and how things work, right? So this will be going on till the 29th. And right here is where Jupiter is sextile Saturn, the Sun, and Mercury. So Jupiter is like, remember, Jupiter's expansion, Jupiter's the wisdom, Jupiter's taking the stuff from the other realms and bringing the cool stuff to you, where you have the wisdom and the knowledge to be able to bring it here. And then you have Saturn that's like, now that you've brought it, let's form it. Because you have the responsibility, because you have the maturity to be able to do this. You can do this, and I'll show you how to form this. And you have Mercury saying the same thing, like, I can help you process and understand. And the sun saying, you can see it so clearly with me. I can show you. I can show you you'll have really, really good light so you can see just how to do this. And Mercury's like, and I can help you process. And Saturn's like, I can show you how to structure it. You're going to have all of this wisdom. It's a sextile. So to me, a long time ago, I used to say this, and I still believe this. A sextile to me is like, it's a gift for you, but you have to take an action. You have to put your energy in it. Where a trine is just, it lands on you, right? Like a trine would just land in your lap, a gift that would land in your lap. You didn't do anything for it, it just landed in your lap. A sextile is a gift, but you have to put some action to it. You'd have to form it. You'd have to see it. You have to envision it. You have to like bring it forth. But it's an easy thing. It's not a hard aspect. It's an easy aspect. Does that make sense? So I think I'm going to leave it there for now. That's a lot of information. So sorry. I'm trying to get back to the Pluto. But again, if I'm inspired, I'm just going to get on here and start talking. And hopefully you're still listening. So hopefully. Anyway, yeah. So I hope this helps. Really quickly, if you have your um, this Virgo full moon, if you're Libra, you're going to have it in your 12th house. If you're Scorpio, you're going to have it in your 11th house. If you're Sag, you're going to have it in your 10th house. If you're Capricorn, you're going to have it in your 9th house. If you're Aquarius, you're going to have it in your 8th house. If you're Pisces, you're going to have it in your 7th house. If you're Aries, you're going to have it in your 6th house. If you're Taurus, you're going to have it in your 5th house. If you're Gemini, you're going to have it in your 4th house. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you're Cancer, you're going to have it in your 3rd house. If you're Sag, you're going to have it in your 2nd house. And if you're Virgo, you're going to have it in your 1st house. Okay. So those are the areas of life that you need to look at, and look to the opposite to help you get through this, to see where you're going. Understand that we're working with a wound to get to this place. And we're working with two different wounds. We're working with Pluto wound, and we're working with Chiron wound. And it has to do with our destiny. And that's why I wanted to know the difference between these two. And I hope I explained that. Let me know if you understood. Yeah, and I'll give you a wider view or a different view by going through the planets as I like move through them, if that makes any sense. I can do a video like that. Anyway, I love you, love you, love you. I'll see you soon. I was going to say I'll see you when the next, Pluto video comes out, but hopefully it'll come out tomorrow. Who knows if I get inspired tonight and do another video. Because I'm channeling a lot. I'm channeling a lot because I open my energy up to do a lot of mediumship next. So, yeah. Anyway, bye.